in 10 workers say they have a toxic boss. Now, I sat down with Sandi White and we kind of dove into this. So we touched on everything from accidental managers to how broken workflows and AI can actually fracture communication. And of course, how DISC can maybe be the thing that closes the gap between managers and employees. Hope you enjoy. Hey, Sandi.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
Wonderful.
Excellent.
So we were both talking about the Harris poll, and it said that 6 in 10 workers have a toxic boss, which is kind of a wild report, and this just came out. I'm curious because you hop in as a fractional CPO or CHRO, basically. When you jump into this, what does a toxic manager situation usually turn out to be underneath?
I think the majority of the time it's lack of communication and not understanding each other. I think if you are strong enough, and I say that with little, sort of inverted commas around it, strong enough to actually say to your boss and ask a direct question, have I done something to upset you? Or what was it that I did that has been so bad, because I feel there's a bit of tension between us. If you can say that to them, I think go for it, because it could just open up the conversation. But yeah, I think most of the time it's communication.
Is it just managers not being trained properly in your experience?
I think so. I mean, I was an accidental manager myself. I fell into people management without having... I had a bit of a background in leading teams, but I wasn't a people manager. I became a very good people manager after the training and after a lot of years of experience. But yeah, I think if that initial support and framework isn't around new managers, how do they know? What are they supposed to do? There's no guidebook, right?
Yeah, there really isn't. I love that term, accidental manager.
Yeah.
I think it happens a lot because we promote our individual contributors that are amazing, or even just people on a team they're the top performers. But just because they're good at some aspect of the job doesn't mean that they're good at the people aspect of leading.
Yeah, and it's a very different skill, isn't it, as well? You need to be able to read people and listen more than what you speak, which for a lot of us can be quite difficult to start off with. But to actively listen, to really hear what your team or another colleague is saying to you, that can speak volumes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I think adjusting that communication style to the people you're talking to, and again, when you're an accidental manager, you run into those where you're just not used to it, right? You're used to being able to do something perfectly all the time, and you think everybody does that. And some people learn differently, some people do differently, and it's definitely a gap that a lot of newer managers, and actually even old, senior managers, forget about. So where do you, when we're talking about this, I guess the actual problem, the symptom always comes down to communication. Mm-hmm. So where do you draw the line between, I guess, a broken workflow and a broken manager? I don't mean broken like they're bad, but they obviously need some work on
support.
That. Yeah, they need some support here, or the workflow is going to need some support.
I think there are two different kinds of communication. So with a workflow, it's there to guide you through how to do the job. And I guess a manager is there to do the same thing, but they're very different in comparison to each other. I think with a workflow, you can tear it apart, rip it up, make a new one, and make it better, But with a manager, how do you do that? It's a completely different thing. So I think that's where the support aspect of it and making sure that they've got the right people and the right training and guidance around them. I guess they're very similar but different. And I keep saying they're not the same thing, but they actually are quite similar. I think with a workflow, everything needs to be clear, crystal clear. You need to be able to follow it. It needs to not skip corners, not, sort of cut any corners, try and find a shortcut because they never work. And I guess it's the same with managing as well. If you're trying to avoid a sticky conversation that you don't really want to get into because it could be difficult or it could create emotions in the person that you're talking to, it's easier to avoid it. So having that support, having that difficult conversation, guidance and training around you just helps you get through that. I've done that sort of training myself before, and it's very empowering. I know that's a bit of a buzzword, empowering, but it does. It makes you feel like you actually know what you're doing. You know, it just gives you that structure.
To be prepared for the situation.
Absolutely.
There's two ways I wanted to branch with this, but is there any training that you usually suggest to teams when you do walk in and maybe the workflows are pretty good, but the managers probably need some additional training, or maybe workflows need a little work and the managers need a little training?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I'm not a certified coach. However, I've done coaching myself when I was agency side and mentoring, and I also mentor now that I'm working for myself. So, yeah, I think I've seen most of what, in my experience, agency work can throw at you as a manager, as a people manager. When to get out of the weeds, when to learn how to delegate, how to trust your team enough to delegate to them as well. That's a big learning curve, especially when you've been the one, let's say you've been a project manager, for instance, and you're in the weeds, sorting everything out and being the one that everyone goes to. And now suddenly you're, let's say, a more senior role where you don't have to do that every day. You miss it. You don't feel important enough anymore that you're not in the weeds and you're not telling everybody, you know, exactly the answers that they're looking for. And you're also not the one that people come to. So that can feel a little bit lonely, I think, as well, when you're new into a role like that. But you've got different responsibilities. You know, you need to look more at the strategy, at the future. Where's the business, the organisation going to be in 12, 36 months' time? And leading and guiding your team as opposed to being right in the weeds and stuck in the middle of everything.
It's funny you say that, because that actually goes right into the workflow. I was saying I was working with a team not too long ago, and the workflow, to your point, needs to be crystal clear, right? And kind of push communication or would encourage communication and have it set so that there's certain times where people communicate to make sure that nothing gets lost. And a lot of times, especially with all these new tools that are coming out, with AI, everybody's got 30 different tools that they're trying to do one part of the workflow, and it all needs to connect. And most of the time I usually say, let's get rid of a bunch of this. Like, that's the first thing I say is, like, I know it's great, it's wonderful, but your people are going to you're fractionalizing your people into little sections and silos, and then nothing's going to get done. So you bring them together. And it's funny enough, so the manager, the director I was working with came from this role. You know, he used to be in the role and he loved being hands-on. He still would walk through workflows every one-on-one. He'd be like, so what did you do this week? It's just teaching them to pull back and say, you have to let your people do it, right? And the workflow has to let them do it. So it was really funny. I was just thinking about that as well, because I was going to ask, do you have any experience with the workflows of basically fracturing communication nowadays?
Definitely. I think as well, going back to your point there, is you need to trust your team enough to allow them to get it wrong as well, so that they can learn along the way and know that you've got their back and that you support them. It's quite the opposite of a toxic manager, you know, one who's supportive and is there for their team, but also hands off, trusting, and think, okay, if it gets to this point, let me know. Other than that, come to me with your proposed solution. Tell me what you thought of. Give them free rein to come up with different ideas to yours. And then they could blow you away completely, you know, with their thoughts and their ideas. And it's come from them. It doesn't have to be from you. I think that's a fabulous part of being a more senior people manager, is then watching your team flourish and really come into their own when they're given that freedom. And it comes down to that trust again. But sorry, you mentioned about workflows with communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was saying, have you seen that? Because that's what I've actually been seeing recently with my clients and people I've worked with, is that the workflows are basically breaking communication, because it's siloing people with these agents and all these wonderful things, or multiple tools and too many touch points where you're no longer able to have these people collaborate and get these ideas from other people to find, I guess, unique solutions to something. Everybody has tons of processing power, but less collaboration and guidance.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest rules is don't have a process or a workflow for process sake. And it was one of the things that I lived by when I was agency side. You can have guidance. Guidance is fluid, and you can make of it what you will. It's not set in stone. It's just advice. But then a workflow and a process is to get you to the end goal. And so that anybody who comes in and, let's just say, worst case scenario, get run down by a bus one day. I know it's horrible, but these things happen. If somebody else needs to come into that role, they need to be able to pick up where that person left off while they're convalescing. They need to be able to see, okay, step 5, I've got to do this. Then I've got to go and ask X about how to do step 6 and 7. And so it's all there for them. But yeah, I don't like process for process sake. Have it where you need it, but don't have it just for the sake of it.
Is it up to the manager?
Yeah, you're taking away that opportunity for collaboration and sparking ideas and all of the things that you mentioned.
And is it up to the manager to make sure that I guess the process is documented enough where anybody can walk into the role without removing all that possibility of innovation for a buzzword?
Yeah, I think in the day-to-day, if you're delivering whatever the thing is in your day-to-day, whether you're hiring as a talent acquisition or recruitment specialist, whether you're a project manager, client service, account manager, you're delivering the day-to-day, and in your normal day-to-day, you might come across some challenges that aren't covered in a document. Perfect idea to get around a table or on a Zoom and talk about it, hash it out. There's no wrong answers, where you can just brainstorm, see what's going to work for everybody, take that to the manager and see if that can be implemented. If you think it's better than what's there already, or if you find a better way of doing something that's easier, still gives you the same result, but you don't have to go through 3 steps to get there, only 1, or not 5, but 2, do it. It's all about efficiency and working together to find the best way to deliver at the same level of quality.
And I think having the issue I always find with that is that the manager, going back to the toxic managers, the manager is not always open to hearing this or always the best at receiving this information. So therefore, the people do not feel safe enough to speak about maybe some adjustments they could make to drop it to 2 steps from 5 steps. Therefore, kind of just breaking everything we just said.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of goes full circle, is that we need better training for our managers or better this. And then again, back to the poll, what was it? Less than almost half of the people that responded said that they believe their companies are investing more in AI or tools than their own development of managers. Now, granted, we're working workflows and all that, what would you suggest to companies when investing in their managers? Like what should be done before, what determines what to do it? If half the people are already saying like, hey, I wish you would stop doing AI and just tell my manager how to take some of my ideas.
Yeah.
Where would you go about this if you walked into a company today?
I think if I use the onboarding process as an example, let's say you've fixed your foundations and then you've added your HR information system, people operating system, and that's now taken automation to the next level for onboarding. So your HR team have then all of a sudden got a bit more time, a bit more breathing space, which every HR team is basically dreaming of.
Yeah.
To support them best and to, I think, help them be more valued in the business would be put them on some strategy training courses. Where do they want to go? What's their career progression? Let AI do the admin type work and let your existing team focus on what's valuable to them and to the business, because if they're doing something that they love, they're going to give it their passion, they're going to give it their all. If you've got somebody that wants to be more strategic in HR, or they want to go down the data analytic route, for instance, support them in that respect. You've got all this time back from what AI has helped you with making your onboarding process automated, more efficient, faster. Invest it in the ones that are going to be there for you and who know your business and want to give back to your business, because AI doesn't sit there at the next desk to you thinking those things. It doesn't have that loyalty that your team will have, and it will never fit into the culture like a human will. So yeah, that would be my
kind of thought process on it.
suggestion. Yeah.
Do you think managers nowadays are set up to fail? I mean, I know they went in the study, they also went into Gen Z, and Gen Z actually feels a higher percentage of their boss is toxic, and they also are more, they have a better chance of speaking out. Like, they speak out more against their toxic boss. So, again, I don't think we're blaming all the managers. At least that's the sentiment I'm getting.
I think without having the proper training and structure around them, in a way, yes, we have. But then also, I did a lot of research. I looked online. I was fortunate the internet was around when I was a manager 30 years ago. Wouldn't have been the case. But yeah, nowadays you can go online and you can do some free courses and set yourself up to support yourself and advocate for yourself as a people manager, as well as the business that you're in. I think it depends on the personality of the individual as well. Do they even want to be a people manager? They've accepted that role and that promotion, and the part that they don't really want to do is the people part. I get it. Some people aren't people.
Yep.
I am a people person, and I loved that aspect of the role, even though it wasn't in my future plans. But yeah, I think are we setting them up to fail? Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes when we're not giving them the support that they need for the expectations that we're asking them to deliver in their roles. Yeah.
Is there any kind of support that you think right away that every manager should have? Like, is there a set kind of thing that you...
I don't think it's a set thing, because everybody learns differently. For me, I learned a lot from my manager at the time, and he was a great mentor to me, and I could go to him with anything. I'd always take what I believed was a solution, and he either agreed with me or we talked about it to find a different route. And that was always eye-opening, because it just, using his years of experience and learning from that made me a better people manager, and then HR's door was always there. And also the chief people officer, I could always go to her and ask a question if I was unsure of anything. So yeah, I had the support around me, but I think mentoring from really good people managers is a really great first step.
I think that's a really good point, that if a company decided to do something about it today, you just install mentorship with senior leadership and kind of ladder it all the way down. Yeah. And it's the people that embody your culture. So even if it's a smaller company, you're going to have the people that stood by you in the beginning, that when you were building the company and you're building this culture and what you stand for and what it feels like to be there day to day. And if that manager is going to be the mentor to the person right under them in that bracket or whatever in the org chart, then that person's going to embody parts of it, because you're always going to be a different manager than your manager, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think mentorship is something very underutilized and very human, and also forces them to become better communicators.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to share what you want to get out of that relationship. That's one of the first things. How can I help you? Where do you need me to support you? Is there an issue? Is there a goal that you're working towards? What is it that I can support you with? And just really be open to hearing what they have to say and giving them a safe space. That's very important as well, so that they can share anything with you, and know that they're not going to be judged for sharing whatever they share, and that then you can either point them in the right direction, give them support. I love mentoring. I do it currently, and it's the one thing. Is if out of any call that I have in the week, a mentoring call is the one that I look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
I had a mentor. Same thing when I first got into leadership. I had a wonderful mentor.
Yeah.
I talk about him all the time, going like, I was the first, handwritten note I got for a thank you. All these things that stuck with me, and then I guess integrated it into everything that I do.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
So kind of diving, I guess, toxic managers, we kind of covered. The communication is a big part. The workflows, making sure that they make sense. And kind of things that you can instill right away to kind of help these managers be set up to succeed. And I guess we agree on mentorship. I had a question for you, and I'm not sure if it's kind of your wheelhouse or what you agree or not. Do you believe in like the behavioral assessments, like your or your insights or your DISC or your Myers or whoever it is? Do you find any value in those when you're I guess running people or running into people communication issues in companies?
Yeah. So I've got experience of DISC. I'd love to become a DISC practitioner, and even insights as well. I've spoken to somebody who's she specialises in insights, and I find it amazing, similar but different, and I think better in a way. It seems to go a bit more in depth. But yeah, I love DISC. You can tell straight away how dominant a person is by the way that they speak. Are they detail oriented to be on the conscientious side? Are they outgoing? Are they supportive? As you can probably tell, I was an SI and my manager style was a definite solid S. So I was all about the support and the training and the guidance. And just always been that way. So yeah, I think it's great that you can listen to the speed that somebody talks and the way that they come across as to whether they're going to be a D or an I or a C or an S down the other side of the circle. And then what they focus on, the detail or the support, will tell you whether they're conscientious or supportive. You know, straight away. You can pick it up straight away once you've done the training and you understand how it works. So yeah, I find that personally really good because then I can match. And if I need to up my game and become more dominant, which I feel most uncomfortable with, but I can, and I can be more challenging and not be afraid to challenge their ideas, you know, and equally, I can get into the detail. So I think, yeah, for me, the dominance aspect, I find the most struggle because that's the smallest portion of my disc that I have. The other three colours I can ease into quite happily. But yeah, the dominance, not so much. But yeah, it's very helpful.
It's one. I am a DISC practitioner, and I fell in love with it. My first manager, who was a mentor, gave me one and said, "This is how you work." And watching myself change over the 15 or however many years it's been, I actually grew. I never had a strong D like you, and then it's finally kind of grown in, I guess, and kind of knocked my C out of there, which is sad, but I am happy that you're very familiar with it, obviously.
Yes.
Because I think that's another tool to avoid this toxic management is kind of everything we said, but also this just behavioral assessments and insights is something I'm not as familiar with, but I know it follows the same guidelines as DISC, where it's and people can understand this very quickly. So as you're saying right away, you're like, I know this person's a C, so I know what I need to come and talk to us. We're going to talk numbers.
Exactly.
We're going to show them. And that just doing that small thing, I think, would stop a lot of that toxic feel because the person at least feels understood.
When you first did your DISC training, when it was delivered, and you were there, understanding who you were as a personality, after you'd filled out all the questionnaire, what was the biggest sort of revelation to you that you didn't realise you had in your personality and the way that you were?
In the very beginning or not?
In the very beginning.
I think in the very beginning, I was super surprised that I was very analytical. Like I was an IC, very hard, and I was like, that is a weird mix. I want to talk, but then I want to read numbers and do programming or whatever. I was like, this is but I did see it because I very much I enjoyed being a manager. I enjoyed talking to people and seeing how they're doing. Yeah. But our business was very sales focused and very numbers focused. So I always loved diving in. I'm like, well, what was our ROI? What was our actual revenue compared to what I used to love that kind of stuff. So I would dive into both and get lost in. And it was wild to me because I never would have thought I was a C. But when I saw it and I saw the way I acted, I was like, man, I really do have that aspect of me.
Yeah, I was surprised as well because I had more C with their conscientiousness and detail. So I can be detail oriented, but I think I was more detail oriented than I ever thought I was. Mm-hmm. But then I remember we did it as a management team. So there was our boss, he was an exec, and then there were 5 or 6 of us directors. And I remember my first one-to-one with my boss after we did that, and he said, Sandy, I'm so sorry. I've been talking to you the whole wrong way all this time. I can't believe how I've made you feel, And I'm like, oh, that's okay. I didn't realise how I was meant to talk to you either, you know. Now, he was quite a high DC, so we were effectively quite opposite each other. But, you know, he was also my mentor. And I chatted to him only last week, so we've still got a relationship now.
Great.
All these years later, so which I think is fabulous. But yeah, I think it just makes you understand the other person, and so have more disc, have more insights, and then maybe there'd be less toxicity.
Yeah, more understanding of how the other people are. How
Yeah.
the other patient. I think it's really neat that he's like, I'm so sorry, I was talking to you the whole wrong way, because
Yeah,
you quickly kind of are like, oh wow, okay, I didn't know that you processed that way.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, he would be saying, you know, I'd have a catch up with him, and he'd say, I'd be like, right, okay, when do you need that delivered by? Well, if you can get it to me in 2 days' time, and I'll be like, oh my God, 2 days. That's not enough time because I need to research. There's the conscientious. I need to start going into a panic, don't you? You know, if you're not that way inclined. I'd get it delivered, but would I feel the stress and the pressure? I'd tell him if I couldn't do it. I wasn't afraid to say no, but I always wanted to deliver, you know, and show what a great person I was to be in his team, and I warranted my place being there. I didn't have to do that. I put pressure on myself, but then once he understood and I understood him more, I could actually push back and say, I could do that for you by Tuesday, but I definitely can't do it by Thursday. Is Tuesday all right? And he'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Happy, job done. You know, and then I get an extra 2 days to work on the thing, the deliverable, and everyone's happy. So yeah, it just changes everything.
So if you were, I guess, to think about this now, if you were like a founder, and again, I love that you really dive into workflows here. We have, I guess, this epidemic of toxic managers. We have most amount of generations in a workforce, and something, I don't know how many years or whatever, but I know I was reading about that we have 5 generations, and the older generation staying, and the younger generation is, you know. So we have all this going on for our managers, and they're being squeezed. We're having AI come in and agents. What would you suggest to a founder? You know, let's say they don't have an L&D program, or they don't really have an HR department or something like that.
Yeah.
What would you suggest to them to really, I guess, make their workflows, because they have to be big on those. They have limited resources. Their workflows and their people kind of work together without causing toxicity of managers, or even, you know, toxic employees, where they just don't want to do it. You know, it can go both ways, in my opinion. I think maybe everybody says your manager is toxic, but you can have a toxic employee too. Just ruins the team.
Absolutely. I think get your foundations right first. Even if you've only got a few people working with you, get your foundations right, so that when you bring on another employee, you know exactly what they have to do. These will evolve as the company grows and scales and gets a lot bigger, more people coming in. Oh, there you go. There's the process. It works for everybody. We're open to change. Always be open to change. Because things can always be improved, and different people have got different ideas. But I think as well, be open to AI. Absolutely. Make sure you fix your processes before you put the AI in. And then when you've got your staff in there working with you, your employees, they have the AI to, I don't want to say low-hanging fruit because it's such a horrible description, but yeah, the more menial admin tasks, and then they can focus on the skills that AI can never do, that gut feeling, communication skills, that how to read a room when you know that something's not quite right, you know, and all of those soft skills that actually are pretty hard skills in a way, because if you have them, you'll go so much further. You know, and that being able to read the room and having conversations without fear, being able to speak up. So to a founder, have an open door policy, but just an open working environment, I think, where everybody's free to challenge respectfully and encourage that radical candor that would probably be useful for a toxic manager as well. You know,
radical candor.
Yeah, that honesty. That this is what it feels like for me. You know, oh, I didn't realise it made you feel that way. Okay, and just makes you keep a check on yourself and the way you're behaving. I think that's good for everybody. But just have that openness for conversation and talk about all the stuff, not just the easy stuff, the hard stuff as well. And I think it allows others to be more respectful of you when you're honest. transparent and you can share openly without feeling that you're going to be judged or sacked for, for the worst case scenario, for having a different opinion to the CEO or whatever. Hopefully not, but you never know. For me, honesty, transparency, openness, communication,
Something I
and
think you
solid
can
foundations.
bake into a culture right away. I do believe that. Like you said, open door policy too. Because I mean, I know it's a cliche, and I think it's probably a little bit old and dated, but I still understand what it means. This is you come with me whatever you need, whether it's hard or easy or you think it's silly. I want to know about it, and I won't give you an answer, but I'll ask you questions for you to figure out what you want to do with it.
Exactly. And I used to be the same. I remember when, eons ago now, as you know yourself, and my status on my Google Messenger used to be, my door is always open, No, people did used to come and knock on it, but I think they probably looked at it and rolled their eyes quite a few times, but it's true. And like you say, ask questions, let them come up with the answers. That's what makes a great manager. So we sit here today as great managers, which is why I think we're so experienced enough to be able to talk about this subject. But and it is dated for sure.
It's dated in some senses, but I think maybe some of that dating needs to come back. Obviously revamped by the younger generation or just newer managers or whatever, whomever. Because it is concerning that 6 out of that poll was concerning, and that's why when we were talking about it, I thought this is a good subject because that's 60% of people. I mean, if you have and team sizes are growing, so that means more than half your team thinks that you're toxic. That's insane to me. And there's no way companies are going to be productive or getting the most out of anything, no matter how specialized or optimized it is, if the people just aren't happy with their leader.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if any of my team would have ever thought of me as toxic, I would be absolutely mortified. Mortified. I remember we used to do 360 performance reviews, and within that was their section to feedback about me as their manager. And I would be always like, oh, this is the bit that I don't like the most, because a lot of the time they'd be telling me lovely things, and I'd bask there in the glow of their admiration and all of that stuff, But then there are times when there's really difficult conversations to have, and it's like, is there anything I'm doing that really gets on your nerves and you want me to stop? Is there anything I'm not doing that you really need me to do more of because you need it more? Do you need more support? Do you need me to be there, by your side, taking you through something? So, I think that is also a very good opportunity during 360 to feedback how you feel yours and your manager's relationship is going. Lay on a nice few compliments, because that always goes down well, but tongue in cheek. But I think it gives an opportunity a couple of times a year, and you should have that opportunity in regular one-to-ones as well, but baby steps.
Speaks to you as a manager, though, that they felt safe enough to kind of give you that harsh feedback. That is my only disagreement with 360 feedback, is that sometimes when you have a boss and you really don't get along with them, probably won't say anything. There has to be a different space for them to be able to say something for them to adjust. But again, if you're a good manager, or you're trying to be a good manager, you know how to be a good manager, and you create that safe space, and you can say that, and you will try to adapt and adjust, right? As you said. But I think we all hope that if we ever get those 360s, we always get the happy ones of, no, you're doing awesome, thank you.
Absolutely. Every single time. I'll take those every day of the week.
Well, Sandi, you have anything you want to wrap up and talk about with the 6 out of 10? Anything we didn't cover?
I don't think so, actually. I think we've covered everything that I expected. The time has flown by, and I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for chatting with me. This has been a blast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.